Hey y'all, welcome back to Made It Out. We are in New York shooting so many exciting episodes for y'all. And today is Willa Bennett, who's the editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan and 17 magazine. We talk about her life and her journey to the incredible position that she holds now and some of the trends that she sees, how Gen Z is becoming more monogamous, how hard it is to date people with different political views than yourself, and also meeting people in real life instead of on the dating apps. Such a fun episode. I hope you all enjoy it. Y'all have been hearing me come on here and talk about phone plans for a while. And as you know, that's because I had a guest kind of call me out on how I needed to get off of my parents' cell phone plan. And I really gave that some thought, but I have to be honest, I'm not going to do that. Matilda and I did need a new phone line for Made It Out. So of course we went to Mint Mobile because these other companies charge an arm and a leg, and Mint Mobile has plans that start at $15 per month. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/made. That's mintmobile.com/made. Upfront payment of $45 for a 3-month 5 gigabyte plan is required, and that's equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, and then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees are extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
I told you before, but our team is just like ecstatic. We've been talking about this interview for a long time. So thank you for being here.
Of course. No, thank you for having me. You're making me look so cool with the Cosmo staff. You're giving me like cool points beyond. Everyone's like, wow, you're going on that cool podcast. You're so cool. I was like, I thought I was cool before, but thank you. So I'm really thanking you.
I want to start with just, who are you? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What was your queer journey like?
Yes, Willa Bennett. I grew up in LA. I was a ballet dancer, and I feel like I was, in dance classes with a lot of other women and close to them. And I feel like when you're a dancer, you have this closeness with the people you dance with. And I could never really tell if it was like we're a team doing like making something greater than us, or if we're actually in love.
Yeah, of course.
And then I've actually written about this before, but I went to a dance competition in San Diego, and I like made out with this girl for the first time, and I was like, wait, this is something I need to pay attention to. And that kind of like changed my whole view. I had a really serious boyfriend in high school, but looking back, he was kind of amazing in retrospect, because he was like, you can be queer in a straight passing relationship. That's okay. Like if you want to make out with girls, that's fine.
Oh my gosh.
So I kind of like in a crazy way I didn't have the words for it at the time, but I was in this like open relationship where I would make out with women and he would never like see anyone else.
Oh my gosh, how progressive.
I know, it really was like, he's amazing.
What did your parents think? Like, were you worried about telling your parents? Did you have any internal conflict or struggle?
Yeah, they didn't really know. Like, no one really knew. It was just like kind of something that I was discovering and talking about in therapy. But like, and I've talked to my friends about it, but it wasn't really something I felt like I knew enough about to come out in a traditional sense. Then when I went to college and I was single, I went to Sarah Lawrence, which I know we'll talk about. I started like actually having feelings for women for the first time. And I had this one serious girlfriend that kind of like really shifted. And then I was like, oh, I'm like really queer. I really need to take this seriously. And that was kind of the beginning of me exploring it more officially, maybe is a better word.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a process and it takes time. And I think there's a lot of like acceptance you have to do, not just of yourself, but like of things not being linear and confusing. And yeah.
Okay, so Sarah Lawrence.
Yes.
I have to tell you, I didn't go to college.
Really? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't go. I kind of got right into real estate and just started working. But I feel like if I would have known about a college like Sarah Lawrence, I would have been really swayed. So can you tell me about like the culture and what's different there, just for people who don't really know?
Yeah, it's a small liberal arts school, 25 minutes outside the city. It's like off the Metro North. It's really easy to get to. I had gotten a dance scholarship there. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going. And I was very excited, and I like got excited about it. And I got there, and basically it was like so queer. It was the type of thing where it was like, you were assumed to be queer before you were straight, which I think also accelerated my own process because I was like, oh, I've like made out with all these girls, but I had a boyfriend. Like, I'm not queer. And then there I was like, wait, we can actually take this seriously. And I mean, like everyone around me was like non-binary and trans and, you know, also just so able to articulate who they were in a way that I just hadn't grown up with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also different now. I do feel like growing up, there is more out there, but really like it was just Tumblr and that's kind of it. I don't know. Like where did you?
I grew up in Texas.
Texas. Yeah. So it's impossible.
Yeah, it was. But did that feel overwhelming to you?
It definitely did. And like, I remember the first couple like crushes I had, I was like, I feel like I'm 14 again. Like, and that's real. It's called second adolescence. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure everyone listening knows what that is. But it's basically when you come out and you start, you know, really like taking your queerness seriously and you have a first queer dynamic, you actually do, it feels like you're falling in love for the first time and it's so all consuming and you feel like you're going through a literal second adolescence. And I definitely felt that way. I remember my first like real, I guess, girlfriend or real situationship, I guess you'd call it now, with a woman was like crazy. Like I was like, oh my God, I've never had a crush before.
Yeah.
And that's wild because I was also like 22, you know, so it's confusing.
So I want to know how you got from dancing to creative writing.
Yeah, I got injured, which sometimes I do think rejection is protection. I was a very serious dancer, and then I got injured, my patella. The recovery was just like, basically, like it was just like, you can't dance anymore. And I graduated from college and literally never danced again. I like finished my courses so I could finish my scholarship, and I wanted to work in magazines, and I was like, okay, if I'm not going to dance, like I want to work in magazines. And
How did you know that?
I don't know. Those were like my two interests that were kind of like going back and forth. Like I basically begged Sarah Lawrence to let me take journalism classes because I didn't like officially get into the program. And my senior thesis honestly kind of changed it. I went to a middle school for a month and talked to teens about how they were reading magazines, and I wrote my paper on it. I was like, you know, magazines are changing. There still is a need for them. We just have to figure out how to leverage social to get it to teenagers and future-proof the industry, and that kind of changed it all, honestly.
When I picture these magazines,
Yes.
I picture them like when I was young, like how they were very how to please your man and like, you know, that they're pretty hetero.
Yeah.
And so it's also just kind of interesting to me that you so queer.
Me? I'm straight.
Look at this outfit.
I know, my studded belt, my carabiner. I'm pandering. I'm literally queer baiting right now.
It's interesting that you'd be like, that's the space that I want to be in. So tell me that headspace.
There's power in that. Like, truly, I think like, you know, I've thought a lot about this through my career because I've worked places like GQ and I've written for places like Teen Vogue, and like there is definitely something to be said. Like I remember when I would like write a piece about wearing suits for GQ, like it would just resonate with people and like really help people that weren't exposed to that type of content. I think there's a power of Cosmo having a queer leader because it's just opening it up to more conversations and bringing more people in, and it's exciting to me. I think it's definitely new. I mean, I can't say that probably every single person who's reading Cosmo is like loving how queer it is, but I think it's important, especially right now, and I think it's relatable also. I think a lot of people are questioning their sexuality right now, and there's less and less space for us right now, literally statistically. So I don't know. I cannot be myself is the short answer.
Of course. Yeah. When you first got into the industry, did you see a lot of pushback?
Honestly, no. I think it's just different. I think the types of stories I'm publishing are definitely different. We're doing a big feature right now on like the difference between gender identity and sexual orientation, and like the SEO around that. Like so many people are searching that right now. I don't know if it's just a reaction to Trump's executive orders or if there was just like a pop culture moment, but it's so interesting. It's so in the zeitgeist right now. I feel like people are really struggling to decipher them and distinguish them. And it's so interesting. It feels like 2017 again in that way. So yeah, we're doing a big, really helpful feature with Glad right now on like, yes, they're different terms. This is how you define them. And, you know, we're really providing our audience with resources. But that is something I'm seeing right now that is surprising. I feel like, again, like, I feel like we saw a lot of discourse around gender and sexuality being different in 2017, but it's like back.
I'm curious to hear just your opinion and thoughts and like experience with it, considering you grew up and went to college in an environment that was so open with gender and sexuality. Yeah. So I feel like you probably have a much different lens than most of the country.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's all spectrum, and like it's okay to change your mind and like have thoughts and second guesses. And I think that's like the biggest thing I think I wish I knew in high school. Like it's okay. Like you don't have to like stick to a label forever. It feels so simple, but I think that's really missing right now. And I think Trump is making young people so scared to second guess who they are, like change their mind, and making it such like a static thing. And that's the biggest thing I want for young people, is just to be nice to themselves. And, you know, it's okay to change your mind about who you are. And I think that love is so complicated inherently. It's like you are drawn to someone for so many different types of reasons. And I think you should be able to explore that. And I think that's okay to change, and like what you're looking for in a partner can change. And I think, again, like it's just such a deep personal thing. I think labels are hard, but I think it's important that you learn about labels and have something to bounce back and forth between. And so that's why for Cosmo, I'm like, we should always define labels, but also give people the space to jump around and change their mind. And I always just tell people, like, listen to your body. Like, your body knows when you should break up with someone. Your body knows when you're like attracted to someone. Your body knows, like, there's so much instinctual about identity. And I think the biggest thing you can do is just listen to yourself.
You're so right. I feel like you seem like the kind of person, though, that's always had that, like, tether
That's
to.
nice. I was like, what do you guys say? What do you guys say?
Like, you imagine I'm like, wow, you see. I say something just like outlandish and horrible.
I was like,
No. You just seem like you've always known what you want, and you've been really tied to those instincts. Do you feel that way?
I think so. I think it also comes from dance, if I'm being honest. Like, you have to be so in touch with your body to a degree. We actually have this piece coming out that I was reading last night. It's like, is your body rejecting your romantic relationship? And It's basically about like the signs that women often feel right before a breakup. And I thought that was so interesting. And I was actually thinking about my first, like, you know, real romance with a woman in college. And I was like, I remember my body feeling so crazy every time we hung out. Like, it was like so overwhelming to a degree that I was like, wait, am I sick?
Yeah.
And I think with coming out too, it's like, you know, if you're like dating, if you're like in a relationship and you're like, this isn't right. And I did feel that way about my boyfriend in high school, where I was like, something's like not fulfilling me, and I don't think it's his fault. So yeah, what do you think of that?
I was super disconnected from body for most of my life. I think I had a lot of like eating disorder stuff, and just, you know, I didn't love my body, and I don't think I was following my instincts, which made that like separation even worse. You know, I talk about how I came out and my eating disorder like really improved, and like, you know, I not that weight loss is the goal, but like I lost a shit ton of weight and just felt really good in my body, and my skin cleared up, and like just all these things. But I think it was because I was coming back into myself, and I was finally listening to the things that I wanted and that I needed. And so I feel like coming out really just like changed the trajectory of my life. I quit my corporate job. I like started doing more creative things and just like following what I always knew I wanted to do, but I did not like denied myself forever. I do think it's like all entangled. And I think that everybody can have like a coming out moment. Cause I think, you know, we all do things that where we follow the trends, or we follow like what everybody else is doing. And then it's like, you kind of have this moment of, okay, wait, I'm not doing what I should be. And I think even if it's not being gay, it's like coming back to that and following those things are, I don't know, can really change a person.
Totally. And like really being in your life. Like one of my friends just went through a pretty brutal breakup, and she was like completely blindsided. Like they lived together, and someone just like came home and they broke up. And I kept being like, you're going to start living your life again. Like you are. Like this is going to be the best thing that happened to you. Like you in like a couple months are going to text me and be like, I'm in my life for the first time again.
Yeah.
And agree. It's like not even, everyone can have that moment. Like whether it's like something happens in your job or, you know, you get laid off or go through like a unexpected breakup. It's like, it's so important to just like be with your body and, in your feelings and not be afraid of that. And it is harder, I would say. Like, I think it's really easy to ignore what you're feeling, which it sounds like you were doing for a really long time. And you're such an amazing story of like, it pays off to really like be with yourself.
Yeah, I think also though we don't teach this.
Totally.
We don't talk about it. We don't teach it. It's not something that like, even my mom, I love her. She did the best that she could, but it's not something that she necessarily knew how to do.
Totally.
Yeah, so I don't think we're like instilling this in our girls, especially. You know, it's funny because I grew up with a brother and I watched my brother be kind of inspired to do whatever he wants to. Don't have a plan B. Don't, you know, and I didn't necessarily get that same direction, you know? And so it's just interesting how we teach our boys, how we teach our girls, just kids in general. It's like we don't talk about these somatic things and like instill it into our kids, and then it does have like a long lasting. And then you turn 28 and you come out and you're like, God damn it! Like, if only somebody would have said this to me, like, or given me the option.
Yeah, I feel like what I always want to say to my younger siblings is like, relationships like don't have to feel crazy. Like they're actually not supposed to feel crazy. I feel like they'll tell me about different dynamics they're in romantically, and I'm like, wait, this is like not how it's supposed to feel. It's supposed to feel calming. It's supposed to feel exciting. It's supposed to feel like exhilarating, but not like, it's not supposed to be chaotic. Like it's just not. And I think that is something, especially with your body, like, you know, if something feels safe, you know, if something feels nice, like listen to that and honor that more than thinking that like your situationship is supposed to make you cry. Like that's not how it should be. And there is someone out there that like is not going to make you want to feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
And I just wish more people talked about that. And I really think this one story in Cosmo, I think it's why it resonated with me so much when I was reading it last night. Cause I was like, yes, like your body knows, like break up with your situationship if it's making you feel sick. Like end it.
It seems so simple.
Like go to the woods. There's more people. Too specific now.
Yeah, I will say whenever I hear people come to me with their relationship and it's like super tumultuous and there's all this like stuff, and I kind of just think of like mine and Matilda's relationship. It's been the easiest relationship. No, from like day one, it was just like, yeah, we love each other and we see it going the distance, and that's it. It's never been like, should I text you or should I like play? I don't know. It's always just been very simple.
Yeah.
And we've worked through our problems and we're very communicative on like how we feel about each other. And my mom always tells me the beginning of a relationship that's right is going to be the funnest, the best time ever. And then like once you start having kids and all of like life hits, then that's when it gets hard. But it's like, it should be really fun and easy.
Yeah. I really like relate to that. I'm like, it needs to feel easy and natural and you're complementing each other's lives. And the second it gets too hard and complicated, it's like, you know, it's funny. My dad said the best advice to me the other day. He was like, you can't choose who's in your family. True, him, which I love. He's the best. He's like one of my best friends. So I say that with love. I was like, but he's like, but you can choose who you date. And I was like, so freaking true, Dad. Isn't that so true?
Profound, yes.
Like you can't choose your family, but you can choose who you date. Anyway, sometimes my dad's advice slaps every once in a while.
And if you think about it, you're choosing who your kid's family is going to be.
So true.
So really think that through before your kids hate you someday.
No, it's just like it's like that person needs to be making you so freaking happy and like making you feel good about yourself, and communication is huge. I feel like at Cosmo we talk a lot about healthy relationships, and through line is almost always open, honest communication. Almost always. Like pretty much every single personal essay you read at the end, it's like open, honest communication. And I'm like, so true. Like, you have to be able to talk through anything. I always say the outside world's hard, but what you have between two people is like, you're supposed to be on the same page about things, and team and supportive, and obviously easier said than done. But I think being able to talk about things is so important.
I feel like you probably, in the line of work that you do,
Okay.
you get to hear so,
Oh, yeah.
like, there's probably so many through lines with like advice and just like, or like patterns. What are some of them?
Open, honest communication.
Yeah.
Being able to talk about things. I think something right now that I'm seeing a lot across the internet is like people dating with different political views and how hard that is, and like what people's boundaries are around it. So that I feel like is very topical right now. The open relationships and kind of had a thing, and now right now with Gen Z, we're seeing that monogamy is like really appealing to them, more appealing than usual, and that's kind of been interesting to watch. Kind of goes in waves, I feel like. So I feel like in like 6 months, I'll be like, open relationships are back. But this is just for younger audiences. So I think that's been kind of interesting. I think it makes sense though. Like, it's so scary out there. So I think there's comfort in monogamy for young people who are, maybe this is the first like real election they're going through, or the first time they're able to vote. So that feels like a natural progression. Going out and meeting in real life is really trendy right now. Dating apps are declining. However, I do think they'll probably pick up again. But it's interesting. I really think people want like a traditional meet cute generally right now.
It makes total sense. I actually did just read something about this, how it's like Gen Z is kind of rejecting online culture in general. And I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, our kids are going to watch like all the stuff that we put online, and they're going to be like, my mom was so embarrassing. Don't you think about that?
Wait,
like,
that's so funny. Oh my God, my kids listening to this, they're going to be like, you're crazy, Willa.
what the hell were you doing?
Like, you can't choose me. I can't freaking choose you either. That's so funny. I've never thought about that, and then suddenly new anxiety unlocked. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's interesting. I think the meet cute thing is really interesting, because if you think about it, like, I grew up in like the love reading, you're like reading love stories. You'd like go to a coffee shop and like trip and fall, and your husband would catch you, and then like you got married and kids the next day.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that. So you like go to get your coffee in the morning. You're like on Instagram, unfortunately. You're like scrolling. You check TikTok, you answer 3 emails. And by the way, like, it's like your coffee's ready because you ordered it online. Who are you going to talk to?
That is so true. And I actually just listened to this podcast where they were talking about, we are missing out on like real life interactions because we are looking at, like, in an elevator. Fucking look up from your phone. Like, you're missing. And so our social cues are declining because none of us are looking at each other.
My social cues are definitely declining. I can confirm. Like, this happened this week. It's so interesting. Wednesday, I have a local coffee shop that I actually do go to quite often. And I talk to the barista like every single day. I always bring her Cosmos, or I bring her magazines, and like we talk. Anyway, she loves movies. We talk about movies. So I was there like kind of like a while on Wednesday, just like talking to her, and she's making me my coffee. And I left, and someone DM'd me being like, "Were you at this coffee shop?" And I was like, huh? Like, what? But I was. So I responded immediately being like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God, I wish I said hi. I thought it was you, but I wasn't sure. Like, oh my God, like would love to like get coffee one day. And I was like, that is so cool that she did that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's professional, personal, romantic. I actually have no idea.
You have to do it just because you have to find out.
But I was like, it's so cool that you did that. I'm obviously going to do it. So TBD. But I was like, that is so fucking cool. I would never do that.
Yeah. Oh my God, me neither.
I wouldn't even know what to say. But it was like, hey, were you at this specific coffee shop? Like, I saw you. And then I was like, yeah. And she was like, I can't believe I didn't say hi. Like, oh my God, like, I would love to get coffee. I live nearby.
This could be your meet cute.
Literally, I hope so.
I'm going to stay tuned. I'll be like, hey, how'd coffee go?
I was like, that is so fucking badass.
I think if you want a meet cute, get off the apps. You're going to get it. I like hated the apps, and I always knew in my head, like, I am going to meet someone in a very weird way. And Matilda and I met. She was casting me for a reality TV show, and that's how we met.
That's so fucking cool.
So I was fucking my boss, you know?
Romantic. Don't do that. Cosmo editor says don't do that.
Maybe not that, but like, you know.
It worked out for you guys.
It worked out for us.
What was like a hard conversation early on that you guys were like, all right, we can do this?
Okay, so we met because she cast me, and then we start dating, and then obviously like I was living there. And so the crew would show up and I would have to like leave and like bring a bag and then show up as if I didn't live there. So I'd be like, hey, like, you know, and like my dogs were in the back house. So like, it was just like all very messy. But then the show was going to get greenlit. And so we were like, fuck, we're going to have to tell them that we're dating, because then we're like, they're going to have to film me like at the house. Now you're going to have to be in the show. It was just kind of like a mess. The network did a full sexual investigation to make sure that she wasn't like promising me a part for sex. So that was a little hard.
That was a hard conversation.
It was hard. Honestly,
Did you say that was a hard conversation?
Hard conversation.
yeah, it all was hard because Mathilde really did not want to be on TV. Like she's very private. She doesn't want people like Googling her, you know, whatever. And so then it was like, well, now I'm going to be on this like basically housewife style show, and she's going to have to be on TV because we're together. So it was just like really kind of,
That's hard.
complicated at the beginning, and it was like my wants versus your wants and what's right and, you know, whatever. But it didn't end up going through, so it was fine.
And that's a lot of things. Like you're talking about your relationship to fame, you're talking about social media, you're talking about dynamics, you're talking about in the workplace dynamic. Yeah, that's a lot, I think, to navigate as an early couple. But I always say it's kind of sometimes it's not a blessing, but it's like sometimes actually great for the relationship when something hard happens earlier, because you learn how you navigate it. And I think with a lot of couples, it is kind of a deal breaker, and it's like almost nice to get that out of the way.
Totally. I agree. I also think like working together for most couples would be a nightmare, but I think that is how we met. And I also think I like it because a lot of our work dynamic is our relationship dynamic.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like it doesn't leave. Like who I am in my real life is a lot of who I am in work, you know, like my impulses and like, I don't know, like I'm not very organized. I'm just, it doesn't change, you know? So it's like, it's interesting because we're constantly communicating about our differences, like through all of these different scenarios. And I think you just learn a person and you're like, okay, I know you're like that. So, and then you're like adjusting in work, and then that helps in the relationship too. I don't know. It's interesting, and it takes a lot of communication.
Yeah, but that's good and like healthy and
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily recommend it, but we love it. Y'all have been hearing me come on here and talk about phone plans for weeks. And as you know, that's because I had a guest come and tell me that I need to get off my parents' cell phone plan. And I'll be really honest, I gave it a lot of thought, but I'm not going to do that. My dad said that he will pay my bill until I'm married. And in this economy, that is what we are doing. But Matilda and I did need a new phone line for Made It Out. And the first company we thought of was Mint Mobile, because these other companies are charging an arm and a leg. But Mint Mobile literally has plans that start at $15 per month. And that is for high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and they're all delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/made. That's mintmobile.com/made. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 GB plan required, and that is equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, and then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees are extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I want to dig in a little bit about what you said that you guys hear a lot about, dating people with different political beliefs. What do you hear? What's your thoughts?
it's interesting. I think just right now it's, especially for women on dating apps, it's like, at what point do you ask that question? Like, and a lot of this is like actually like straight relationships being like, hi, like, you know, we're going on the third date, and like, is this guy like gonna vote against my rights or like not, you know, believe in my rights? I think that is something I'm hearing a lot from like heterosexual dynamics. I will say like inherently, I think it does come sooner in a queer dynamic because they're already kind of not the norm, I would say. And the dynamic you're already recreating. But I will say in straight relationships, that is something we're seeing a lot, and we're seeing like search around and people are coming to us for help. I don't think there is an answer. I think you have to bring it up when it's right, and you have to decide what your boundaries are. There are some people that have said like, I cannot even like go on a date. There's some people who draw a line in the sand. There are some people are like, you know, I'm okay with these type of beliefs, but this is my like red flag. I think you have to do what's right for you, and I won't judge you, but I really understand and sympathize with someone that can't date someone that votes against their interests. I think that would be really difficult for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I would be like, I can't even go on a date. I think it's interesting too what we're seeing in like the dating show culture now.
Yes. Love is Blind.
It's like it was all political.
Yes.
And
Yes. Okay, so interesting.
because this is how it is now.
Yeah. And it was like 2 for 2 on Love is Blind. And that's what's so fascinating. I edited a piece on it. And the writer, Olivia, like basically was like, this is where we are. Like, this is the era of dating we're in.
But I was like, I mean, I have my opinions. Can I say my opinions?
Yeah.
On that one girl who basically, with the gay sister.
What's her name? Let's say her name.
Sarah.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Sarah has
yes.
a gay sister.
Yes.
And so she's making, and they're, you know, talking about George Floyd. And she's just like, I need you to care about these things. Like, I need to be with someone who really understands and is paying attention. And he's basically just like, and at first you're like, yes, like, say something to this guy. Like, I'm so glad you're speaking out. But then she ends up dating him. She ends up marrying him.
She ends up marrying him.
They do.
That's what's crazy. Yeah, I think the marriage was so surprising. And then the other one ended. So it's like you have 2 examples on Love is Blind. One is like they had the conversation about politics. It was surprising, but it was also very disappointing. Done. The next one was like, it was disappointing. And then she was like, it's fine.
You move forward.
Married.
Which is so weird to me. I'm like, how it feels performative in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely performative. But also, what I'll say is so interesting is like now she's getting a ton of hate for marrying him. And I'm like, wait, what? Hate him.
Fair. I mean, also a fair.
Both of them, I'm like, that's not a good dynamic. But it's like, obviously, the woman's getting all the hate. It's just like the whole thing is like disappointing to me and like depressing, honestly.
Yeah. But I do think like this is just where we're at now in these dating shows. I think you're going to hear about politics because that's what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. We had this piece, this writer Vera, she spent an entire year on a right-wing dating app before, this is before Trump.
Was it Date Right Stuff?
She did a bunch of different ones. It's really, really interesting. She talks about, I think the part that is so nuanced in it is like her sexual attraction and like at what point she like actually couldn't be physically attracted to people, like where that line was drawn. And her conclusion, spoiler, is that like the second it came to like women's rights or LGBT rights, is like was her line in the sand.
Yeah.
But there were other things that like, you know, she was more willing to like, she uses the word sympathize for, but it's not quite that. It's like, she did like have a nice fun date, you know?
Right.
And that I think is so nuanced and crazy.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's an interesting like thought experiment because it's easy when I'm like, I'm in a relationship and I'm not out there dating these guys. Like, I'm like, fuck that. I would never. Yeah. But if you're in the scene and you're seeing this huge shift with all these men and this is where it's going, it does become more nuanced.
And statistically, Joe Rogan's podcast is literally #1. So it's like your pickings are like, there, you have a pretty good chance if you're dating someone on a dating app, I don't know,
to running into
yeah, you said it, not me.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll say it.
I was like, I got too sad.
The audience knows what I'm thinking. It's fine.
I was like, I didn't say it. Yeah, I think you should always be reading and you should always be like curious. And I think that's why I love like reality TV, because I do feel like there's people from all over like interacting, and just watching the dynamics I think is so fascinating. And like what's happening in the reality TV space is such a reflection of the zeitgeist in such an unedited way. I don't know if it's like more so since I've started working at Cosmo, but I've really been like into reality TV recently.
Oh, I love it. I'm a Housewives stan.
Like in a way that I never was though. I think it is the Cosmo, like I've been Cosmoed because I like really do watch reality TV. Like we did Gabby Windy, who's been on here, and Robbie Hoffman's like wedding announcement, exclusive. We should Teeny's essay. Serena and Cordell. I love them. Yeah, I'm like I think it's such an interesting space, and our audience like loves it, and I think it's so there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I love reality TV.
Yeah.
I've always been like, people who watch reality TV are actually very smart. We're studying like,
I agree,
psychology and like social dynamics, and I love it. I will defend the Housewives forever.
So true. People who watch reality TV are perfect.
Perfect. Okay, we've jumped all over, but I have
Yes.
I have one last question that I ask everyone.
Oh my God.
It's, what are you working on in therapy?
I'm working on in therapy. That's interesting. A couple things. Exhaling, being like calm. I'm working on not working on Sundays. I feel like I'm pretty much work 7 days a week, and I'm really trying to just like have Sundays to clear my head, and going on more walks alone. Those are like the 3 things this week that like I feel like are really prevalent.
Walks alone without your phone.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, that too. That would be like, my therapist Ellen would be so happy to hear you say that. Ellen's literally like, yes. No, I'm trying to definitely be on my phone less in general, but I think Sundays I'm really trying to like reserve for like nothing work related.
Yeah, I love that. What do you do on Sundays then?
Go for walks, get a smoothie, see a couple friends. Yeah, just like really not do anything work related.
I love that.
Yeah, what are you working on in therapy?
What am I working on in therapy? I've taken a break from therapy for...
Scandal.
I know. How long have I not been in therapy? Like a couple months. I need to find a new therapist. That is
Ellen.
Where I'm at. Ellen, I'll take recommendations. I think my therapist, I've loved her I've had her for like 3 years. I've loved her, but she was very affirming and like soft, which was really good for the time frame that the time period I was in. But now I think I'm in a different space, and I need someone who pushes back on me and challenges me a little more. Because a lot of the times I walk into therapy and I'm like, I know what's wrong with me, and I'm telling her, and I need someone who's going to be like, hold on, and push. And I don't think I was getting that from my therapist.
I think going to the right therapist is really, really, really like understated. I think especially there was like a boom of therapists or like people going to therapy in the pandemic. And now I'm like, is everyone with the right therapist? I say that to people a lot. And I say it to my friends all the time. I'm like, it's not just about going to therapy. It's having the right person at that right time. And it's like a relationship. Like you have to work on it and nurture it. I've had a couple different therapists in my life, and like, I think they were right for that time. And so I think that's really true and really admirable that you were like, this isn't working, I'll find someone else. But you should definitely find someone.
Yeah, for sure. And I've fought it for a while because I love her so much, and I feel like she was great for me. But there was a reason why I've taken a break and I haven't gone back. You know what I mean? And
totally.
So now, just after a couple months, now I've been like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to find someone else.
And couples therapy is great. Have you guys been?
Oh my gosh. We have our listeners have heard this, but I'll tell you, the craziest, meanest couples therapist ever. She's like this Russian lady, and she's so hard on us. And when we first went, she was like, I'm not your friend. I'm not here to make friends. And she'll just like yell at one of us for 30 minutes and then be like, you're next. And then yell at the other. Very like efficient. But she's like, apparently it's a method of therapy where it's like, you don't have time to fuck around. Like you're just going, but also we're like, I think we need to find a new therapist.
Wow.
Because it's a bit intense. And we're like, we just need like touch-ups. Like we're not like, she's like, if you're going through a divorce, like you're on the brink. And we're like, we're fine. We just like check-ins, we need somebody to hold us accountable. So, but yeah, that was our couples therapy experience.
Wow, that's wild. I actually didn't know that. So that's wild, wild, wild. There was this article we just published that was so interesting, that this new trend where women in their 20s are going to couples therapy to help them break up.
Whoa.
And it's like, is the new breakup through couples therapy? It's really interesting. And like, there's all these statistics where it's like young women are just like so scared to break up with their partners because it's so hard out there with dating, where like they're just finding therapists being like, I need help with this. And then
Not a bad idea. It's interesting, but
I'm just like, I'm going to pay for my breakup. That's like where my mind went. But I'm also like, I think that makes sense.
it sounds like something you could have done though. She's so avoidant. She would like stay.
It is very avoidant.
So it sounds like something Matilde could have used. So we play a game.
Fun.
It's called You Haul or You Ghost. So they're perfect in every way except for this one quirk. They're an escape room enthusiast. Like they go weekly to practice.
Ghost. Scary.
Have you ever done one?
No, of course not.
They're really fun. Oh my God, I actually love them.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Okay, well, I will say like the only time I do an escape room is when I'm like back home in Texas and don't have anything else to do. And so maybe my siblings will go, but we're actually really good at them.
Really? Okay, maybe that's extreme, but I just am like, if that is like the thing that you're so passionate about, there's something scary about that for me.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I'm like, are you looking at the exit signs when we go and yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, ghost.
Okay, what about as soon as you are like official, you're dating, she adds you to a group chat with her family.
Oh.
And she gets upset if you're not responding. It's popping off. It's ding, ding, ding.
I think that's sweet. I love like meeting the people I have dating parents. Like, I think it's like so sweet, and it's not like, that's not scary for me at all. To me, it's like a sign of love.
Okay, I love this. So you haul.
I guess.
Will you tell people where they can find you?
Yes, Willa H. Bennett, Cosmopolitan. Subscribe.
Thank you again for being here.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
Of course, that's a wrap.
Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. As always, help us spread the gay agenda by writing an Apple review, rating us on Spotify, and sharing with everyone you've ever met. And if you haven't yet, join our subscription community, Made It In, for exclusive Made It Out media shows, content, and chat rooms at madeitout.supercast.com. Made It Out is produced by Matilde Jordan and worked on solely by lesbians.
I'm a lesbian who is caught up in the web. I just live here now.